testimony. I appreciate you being here today, and I want to suggest for your opening remarks, too, that I believe also there are a lot of high qualified people that work for the IRS, and I'm seeing the President and Obamacare look to expand those numbers by 16 to 17,000 people, and I mean, that's a huge number at the cost of $10 billion. I've watched the private sector shrink dramatically under the nationalization of private sector policy that actually began under the Bush administration, was accelerated dramatically under the Obama administration. And by the way, everything that began under the Bush administration that sent us in that direction was supported by then Senator Obama. There is no exit strategy to divest ourselves from the federal consumption of the private sector. I did hear a notice that some of Citigroup might be spun off. I don't think there's been any action on that at this point. But you add to that Obamacare, the student loan program, all being nationalized. It's curious to me there is no exit strategy on the part of the federal government. You find yourself in a position here to enforce tax policy. And again, I compliment the workers and their intelligence and skills there. And I think you'll know by reputation that I think they could also do very well in the private sector. And so I don't have any hesitation about the skills. I do have a couple of things that I want to follow up on. And with Obamacare and the collection that you apparently will be soon required to carry out, can you tell me the discussion that's been in the open dialogue has been about the IRS having the authority to withhold a refund if one does not comply with the mandate to purchase insurance for their employees, or perhaps as individuals, sole proprietors, partnerships, LLCs, etc. And does your power go beyond that, beyond withholding a refund? What about the tax lien component of the collection that the IRS, I expect, will be using when the refund is not a tool that's effective for them?
So let me respond and give you a sense of what I view our role as, and then get to your specifics. One is, as I mentioned in my opening statements, I think that there's been some irresponsible demonizing of the IRS around this healthcare debate. First of all, there is no 16,000 people out there that are going to be hired.
How many?
That was a number that was put out by a study. It wasn't put out by us. And so
how many?
That number's just floating around. I don't have a number for you.
Okay, now, excuse me, Commissioner. My clock is ticking here, and I
well, let me just address your two questions,
specific
Mr.
question, and I'd point out that you did feel free to speculate on capital gains tax cuts, which has been floated by the administration, but not willing to talk about policy changes when Mr. Buchanan talked about the increase in small business taxes. So I just want to make sure that we're on a subject matter here where we can get definitive responses. And so do you have a number that you could give me as to how many IRS agents? And if a person doesn't have a number, then how can they argue that the number that's out there isn't accurate?
I can argue about the number because I actually get to set how many agents are out there, and I haven't set how many people are out there. And second of all, what I was talking about, which I think is irresponsible, is people throw around numbers like agents and 16,000 agents. Well, most of what we're going to have to do around the health care law
Commissioner, my time is ticking here. If you're going to set the number, what will you set it at?
I'll finish and answer the question.
1 minute, 13 seconds left on our clock. I'm sorry I have to be abrupt, but I'd like to get a response if I could, please.
So most of what we're going to spend our time on is building computer systems to get credits to people and administering tax law provisions.
Okay.
Right now, there's
Commissioner,
no
I'm
plans.
sorry. I do have to interrupt you because you've not answered any of my questions. And I've asked if you have the authority to apply a tax lien beyond withholding someone's tax refund as a means to enforce Obamacare. And I've asked you if you're going to set the numbers of agents or officers or employees of the IRS, and you disagree with the number, at what you expect to set it at. Now, if you will not answer either one of those questions, I don't think there's any reason for us to carry on this dialogue.
So the law specifically prohibits liens, levies, and seizures. Most of what you can think about when you think about the requirement to buy insurance and the penalty to not have insurance is it'll be like a 1099. The insurance company will send the employee and say either you have the insurance or you don't. They'll send that same information
Then following
return to
up,
us,
if that's
and
the
a letter
case,
will go out. This
Commissioner,
is
if-
not the kind of thing
If
that
that's
we
the
have
case,
agents
then how do you
for.
follow up? How do you enforce?
The gentleman's time
Mr.
has
Chairman, I ask
expired.
unanimous consent for an additional minute.
We've got one more person that's going to ask, have a chance to ask questions here, so
Do I hear an objection? Or?
I'm objecting.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let the record note that the witness refused to answer my questions, and I've been gavelled down before I could get an answer, and I apologize to the chairman for having to be rude and abrupt.
Thank you, sir.